How you doing, guys? I'm back here today. So today I'm working on my Dodge Durango. This is a 2000 with a 5.9 liter V8, and we're going to be replacing the upper control arms. So I did the mistake that when I did the suspension, I only replaced lower, so I should have replaced both. So I'm fixing my mistake so that way I have new parts all the way around. So anyways, for the front right upper control arm, I'm using Moog RK621756, and for the front left, I'm using Moog RK621755. So let me put this on the lift and let's get to work. Alright, so got her uplifted in the air, so of course, first things first, we're gonna have to remove the wheel. So this right here is gonna be 22. So we got 1, 2, and then you're gonna remove your ball joint. So first you gotta take off the cotter pin, and that's a 22. And these are a size 13. So let me take it off. The one thing a lot of people recommend is to try to mark where this is at, because this right here is for the alignment. I believe this is caster, if I'm not mistaken. So let's take things off. All right, so first things first, let's cut this cotter pin out of the way. Come on, focus. And then we're able to slide it off, hopefully. Wiggle it out. So with the cotter pin out of the way, I'm going to take these off because I don't want to damage my brake line after I remove the knuckle. And the knuckle is again a 22 or a 7/8. So with the 7/8, hopefully I could do it with one hand. We're gonna loosen up the castle. And then we'll just loosen up the castle nut. We'll loosen up the castle nut. And this is harder with one hand. Once we take the castle nut off, it is not recommended you hit the threaded portion of it. Some people do. So with it almost all the way out. Let me put this back in. I took it out too much. I'm gonna get me a ball peen hammer, or any hammer really in general. We're gonna smack it out in place. Now, let's hope I could. So looks like I'm probably gonna have to use a pickle fork. So let me pop it off. I was hoping I could just do it with the hammer, and then I'll get back to you. So after getting it off with a pickle fork, just gently remove your brake line. I'm just gonna move this out of my way, and let's get those 22 millimeters in the back. Extend that. There we go. So my truck is already out of an alignment, so I'm not going to worry about marking it. Let's get this out of the way. So once you remove those two bolts, this comes right out. One thing I am going to do though is compare both parts and hope they send me the right thing. So they both have both identical. So my new one comes with a circ fitting like this one to put grease in. I know if you got the recall on your Durango back in like whenever they had that recall. Unfortunately, I'm the 10th owner of my truck, so I don't know when that recall was, but this is replaced to nuts and bolts. The new one comes with the new ball joint, and I did notice that this is not a 22 or 7/8 on this replacement part, so I'm gonna have to figure out what part that is. And let's go ahead and we'll put it back in. I'm gonna have to do it with two hands. Once it's back in, I'll let you know what the torque specs are for each of the components, as far as the two control arm bolts and the ball joint. Alright, so I got these on. So for me to get this one on, I kind of had to put my hand underneath here and just kind of push it up for it to go through, for me to put the nut on. So that's how I install that one. So we'll tighten these down, and these will get torqued to 155 foot-pounds after you tighten it. You know, so just make sure you torque after you tighten it down. I'll tighten these down and then torque them. I'll let you know what the ball joint gets torqued to and what size mine came with. I'm going to say that depending on where you get your aftermarket parts, that nut size for the crown nut may be different per part. So to get this in, so because I have the car up in the air, I just found me a piece of 2x4, cut it to length, and I just used my jack to line this up, push it together so I could get enough clearance, put the crown nut in there. Now I know many people don't have a lift and you're doing it on jack stands. If you do it on jack stands, all you really have to do is get your jack underneath the lower control arm just to push it up. And let me get you the torque spec for that, and I'll show you how the assembly looks like when you put it back together. Okay, so after torquing this down, this is 60 foot-pounds, and then when you tighten it, you just want to make sure you have enough room so you can stick the cotter pin, make sure that the hole is not obstructed. Now I did run into a bit of an issue. This one right here, with it sticking up like this, did not let this to sit flush where these holes to line up. So what I did is I flipped this nut and bolt, flipped it upside down, and now the bolts, the holes line up, so I could put my 13 millimeter bolts in there. And this is pretty much the final product. So again, these are 155 foot-pounds. This one right here is 60 foot-pounds. And again, don't forget your cotter pin. The Zerk here was a 7 millimeter. So I used a 7 millimeter wrench for that. This was a 15 millimeter, and this was a 16. So if you run into the same issue and you have the same part, it's that. Now, I went ahead and already did the driver's side. Driver's side is pretty much the same thing. The only thing is you don't have to worry about this middle nut on the driver's side, at least for this one. Crown was a 21 millimeter, and this was 22 or a 7/8. Again, 155 foot-pounds, 60 foot-pounds, and that's how both of them look. Hope this helps, and enjoy the rest of your day. One last thing, if you have a Zerk fitting, just fill it up with grease and make sure you get an alignment done, and then you'll be all set to go. Have a good one.